One, two, 1, 2, need my attitude. 3, 4, 3, 4, check my latitude. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, I like that.
Do.
Hello, happy Wednesday. And I think next week I am going to try to change the color up, because when I'm on Go Brunch, when I'm on Zoom, I don't look as red as I do on here. And I think it's because my side is pink.
It could be. I'm telling you, I think you should go with the Keystone colors somehow.
Yes, maybe. I don't know. Like, I think this is going to sound crazy. Next week, I'm just going to try white with Unleashed and all of that. You get my point?
Yeah.
I'm just going to put white and I'm going to see if it changes. So the next time we do this, that's what we're going to do, because I feel like I always look red. So
I like it.
Anyways, your cat killed a lizard.
Yeah, my cat killed a lizard. And it was in my bathtub. Like, that's a weird place for the cat to leave the treats. So that's interesting. That was an interesting morning. But Sarah, we have a topic. And I think the topic goes from last week's topic into this week's topic.
I don't remember last week's topic.
Last week's topic, we talked about how having a checklist and really having a structure inside of what you do on a day-to-day basis. That's what we talked about last week. So if you guys didn't see last week's show, go watch last week's, because it was really informative. But this week really ties into that as well, because it takes everything to the next step. If you're doing social media and your time block is a social media time block, what does that mean to you? Everybody's company is different. So some people only have their social media on LinkedIn. So they're checking messages, they're making sure posts are good, they're liking different things. Some people have 3 different social medias. And so what ends up happening is you need to have a standard operating procedure, right? This is for my business, this is how we function best in social media. And when you have that, that's going to help you.
Well, and I want to just make sure, as people are watching this, because a lot of people are just single humans running a business, right? Mm-hmm. This doesn't mean that you need to create a Google Doc with standard operating procedure at the top of it and label it social media, right? And have step-by-step directions. It doesn't have to be that in depth. What we're talking about is, if you like that, if you're that, organized with things, feel free to do that. But the concept is more, if you go to do your social media, and we're using that as the example, but this could be your receipts for the week, your social media, pay your bills, I don't care. Whatever your hour is, if you get there and you're like, oh, I'm just going to scroll, right? And you don't actually do anything. Or one day you comment on 3 things and one day you comment on 25. And, the 25 comment day blows up your social media because you get everybody else's pings too, right? You got to kind of think about, what do you want out of that hour? Right? And as an entrepreneur, I think that a standard operating procedure could be 2-3 things on a short concept versus a whole, what people are picturing of, those binders we get at corporations. Right. But it is the same concept, just a smaller version.
Well, and it really is, it goes back to that checklist. If my social media, in order for my social media to do what I want it to do, I have to hit these 3 things in one day. Right? So now I know these 3 things are the 3 things that are the most important. And then I can do some other social media things to try some stuff out, but I need to make sure that this is the bulk of what I do when I'm doing my social media hour. And like you said, Sarah, some people get that like freeze effect, right? Oh, I need a SOP with spreadsheets, and it's not necessarily, that's not something that you have to do unless you're somebody who's in that situation. But just so that you have a base knowledge of what does it mean for my company and how does my company build, right? Because this SOP, however it looks, is going to be foundational. So if
Mhm.
you eventually hire a VA, right? If you hire a virtual assistant, you can give them, this is what is required for my social media. And those three topics that you think are the most important things that they need to focus on, then they now know I need to focus on these three topics. Now, if you have a topic where it's, connecting with people, well, now we need to look at, okay, I only connect with people that have this label. I only connect with people who have this space. So you don't have to go in depth with log into LinkedIn, go to the search bar, do, you know,
That's what I'm saying,
yeah,
right? Like you
you
don't
don't need
necessarily
to,
need that level of detail,
but you
right?
do need what is required for the business to function.
Well, and if you put something, this is about putting something on your calendar too, where you're like, oh, I'm going to do this for an hour, but you really don't know what this means, right?
Mhm.
And again, if it's different every time, it doesn't mean that your SOP or your plan can't change a little bit, right? Because yeah, if using social media still as the example, if you try something for a couple months and you're like, wow, only my mom likes it, right? Like, well, maybe you try something different, right? Um, but you don't want to change your SOP simply to every day. You want to change it with data, I guess is what I'm trying to get at, right? So if you're posting every day and the only person liking it is your mama, okay, then you need to switch that up. But you don't switch it up every day if your mom likes it. You switch it up after a month or two of saying, okay, I need other people.
Right.
Um,
And when you're looking at that, then it becomes what is it that I did, right? So if I have an hour in social media, I spent 15 minutes doing this, I spent 10 minutes doing this, and I spent, 25 minutes doing this. You can adjust that and make that a little bit different. And so now this hour is what gets done and what didn't work. Right. So
mhm.
we can take out what didn't work and we can replace what didn't work with a potential new idea. Or we can say, I've got 25 minutes on outreach and I've been knocking out 10 to 15 people in 15 minutes. So I only need 15 minutes of this. And maybe that posting space needs a little bit more time because it's not reaching who I want to reach, right? So you can really adjust what's working. And Sarah, we tell this to everybody all the time, but if you don't give something 3 months, you're not gonna know if it's working or not. It's a very hard tell in different situations, even if it's just you working on your email and how does my email pattern work, right? If you're
Yeah.
not working and adjusting in 3 months and giving it the full attention, you're not if you just give up on it, it's not gonna work very well.
Well, yeah, and I have kind of two comments on that. So I want to talk about a little bit about my calendar. So my calendar is very colorful. And the reason is because I block time for everything, right? So I have time for social media. I have time for uh some other things that I do, for writing, for my dissertation, for everything. I block it out. Um because what that does is, even when I have, say, family that needs something, right? Because a lot of times those of us that work from home, family thinks, oh, well, if you're not on a call, you're not working, right? Okay. And my youngest is 18, and I swear, no matter how many times I've explained it, we're actually thinking about putting one of those lights above the office door that says like on air or not, so that he knows don't come downstairs if we're working. It's just kind of funny. But I know when you have littler kids, it happens like that. So I block out the time so that if I need to, I can be like, no, I'm actually working. See, it's blacked out, right? I can prove to somebody. But also within those things, I have task lists. And this is where those SOPs come in. Mine aren't actual SOPs. I don't call it that. But if I say social media, I have a task list and it's actually 7 items. I literally have to check off the task list and then it shows up the next day. Okay. Because and I have to do all those 7 things. And that's how I handle it. Right. So if I do these 7 things, I solved my hour block or my 30-minute block or whatever it is. But to your point of trying stuff for 3 months, 90 days, I want to talk about, and this is not a plug. I mean, it is a little bit. Go follow my Substack. Yay. But my Substack, right? I started it last September. Well, I went all in last September. I put a few things out there before that, but I was all in September. And, posting 2-3 times a week for an article, multiple times during the day, I got like 3 people. They weren't my mama, but they might as well have been. You get my point? And this, I ended up then with 20 people, but the same 3 people were the ones that were liking or commenting. And most of the time, and this is not a diss to anybody listening, but I had to remind people, hey, go like stuff, right? And now though, I know it seems like a long time because I say that was September, but I'm now to 80 subscribers, 81 as of this morning. And somebody posted something the other day on Substack, and it was it was a quote. 34 people, I only have 34 followers on Substack. I need to figure out how to grow this. And then the guy commented after that, he's like, if you had 34 people show up to your house every day just to hear your thoughts on something, wouldn't that be pretty cool? Right. And I'm like, dang it, that is pretty cool. Right. Right. And that's what you got to start thinking. That's why you give it time. Right. Because if you base things on a week or even just a couple of months, I didn't base that September through December because November and December, people are thinking about holidays and things, and nobody's thinking about let's follow Sarah's Substack. Right. So I actually gave it through to Q1. Right. And I'm glad I did. Because it panned out. So anyways, those were my kind of thought processes.
Well, and so with your checklist, right, and like you said, you don't call it an SOP because it's your task list. That's what you're doing. That's something that you can hand to another individual and they can do it. And that's one of the things that we really need to understand is as entrepreneurs, yeah, we do it ourselves, but the goal is to have a virtual assistant. The goal is to have other people who do the behind the scenes so we can do the business part, right? Mm-hmm. If you're a landscaper, you want to be the person who's planting and building the grass and doing all of those things. You don't want to be the person handing out flyers and, creating those flyers. You're probably more handsy in the yard and
you want to do the design work, not the invoicing. Exactly.
And so when you can build that, like you said, those are my 7 things. This is how I know that my social media goes. And so now once you're ready, you can say, okay, here's my 7 things that I do in social media. And maybe you pay somebody $100 for the month to do that on a weekly basis, right? And so as you start to grow, you can then entrust what you've built and what you know. But then also, because you know those steps so well, when they ask you a question, you've got the answer.
That is true. And again, I stress, Brittany just said mine is not a SOP as in I don't call it that, but very easily I could cut and paste this checklist into a document that's also a checklist that anyone could follow. Yeah. Right. This is just my process. And a lot of people use different things, right? What's it called? Asana. And then there's Trello and all these different things. If you like Post-it notes, that's what Trello is your friend, right? Use Post-it notes, but do it the way you need to do it, but do it. Yeah. Because you will regret it eventually especially the things you have to do monthly or quarterly and not daily. right? How many times, Brittany, have you went to do something and you're like, I haven't done this in a couple of months, and now I need to now troubleshoot my way through it because I don't remember what I did. I did it 2 months ago, but I don't remember what I did.
Exactly. And
So,
that's what's important about what you do and just knowing your step by steps and knowing the requirements. Because even on a quarterly, right, when we do our taxes, all of us have
uh,
basic things we have to do for the taxes, but depending on your business and your entity, there's specific things that you have to do also. Or
yes.
if you have a tax person who does it, you just need that list of stuff to give to them, right? So manage, what does it look like for your business to survive, that's the wrong word. What does it look like
Yeah.
for your business foundationally to manage each of these things? And how does it work best for you? Because if a big SOP that's heavy with directions isn't something that you can simply follow, it's not going to be something you can hand to somebody. If you're a task list person, it's easier to hand them a task list and give them instructions on what those tasks look like. And so it really has to be something you personally can manage.
So yeah, two things about that. I wanna, if anybody has watched this far on the replay, because nobody's watching us as we're live, but if you're not filing your business taxes quarterly, do not freak out. Okay, do not freak out until you talk to a tax person. Not every business has to file quarterly. Some businesses can file yearly with your regular personal taxes. So I'm just letting you know, don't freak out if you're not doing that. And also, if you're not doing it, you're probably not making enough money for the government to care. So it's, they're not like taking you off to the pokey or something. You just got to do back taxes. So either way, don't freak out. Then I had a second thing. It was about what you were talking about, and I don't remember. It was probably the cure to cancer or something. Because
That's okay, because I wanted to talk about your Substack and the conversation that you had on that. So when Sarah started her Substack, right, she gave everybody time. She understood it was the holidays, but she said something of, I had to remind people.
mhm,
This is something that we inside of the Keystone Network have really conquered, right? We have a LinkedIn group chat. We have text messages to each other where we are consistently asking people, hey, go to this link. Hey, help support this. We have specific people who will reach out to and say, hey, I posted about this and it's about a topic that I think you personally would really like.
mhm.
People think that if you ask other people to go engage or to go look at something, that you're asking for like this huge big favor or you're impeding on their time. But really, you're asking for somebody to support you and you're giving them the opportunity to ask you to support them. Because we can't, if your mom is the only person liking your things, then the rest of the world will not see it. But if you have other business owners who are liking your things and sharing your things and really working in that, then now other people are going to see it. And business owners are busy. So unless inside of their social media checklist, your name is there where they're going to go to your name directly and share your post for the day, it's okay to say, hey, can you please support this specifically?
That is what people need to do. So everybody watching this, on every SOP you create, the bottom one should be engage with Sarah's Substack.
Yep.
Then I don't have to worry about anything. That would just solve all my problems right there.
We're going to
So,
figure out how to hack into every SOP on the planet and
just add that
put,
in.
yeah.
I'll put the link there too, so they don't even have to go find it. It just be like, right, this click.
Yep, exactly.
That's
So that's
not going to
what's
happen.
important. But that's what's important, right? Is to
Yes.
also ask people for that engagement. And if you have an SOP and you're like, hey, can you read this? Have somebody else read it, right?
Yeah.
Because then they can look at it and they can ask you questions and you can, formulate, not change it to be what they need it to be, but change it to be something that's understandable, right? And so really inside the business world, when you're creating these structures for your business, when you're creating structure for your company, when you can consistently show up and do the same thing over and over again, that is going to be what builds strong pillars in your foundation and allows you to move to the next task quicker, but to also understand what works, what doesn't work, and where your time is being spent. Because if you're spending a big chunk of your time on something that you don't like and it's not doing anything for you, then either find somebody who can do it better or let it go. It's okay.
Whew. I agree. That took talent. I actually muted myself so nobody had to hear my sneeze. But it was like super simultaneously. No, but 100%. And I think one of the things you said was making sure like somebody else reads it. And one of the things that I have realized over different facets of my life as I've built this entrepreneurial adventure is sometimes I've had people that were very supportive, right? Family and friends. Other times, questioning my life choices and telling me I don't have a real job. Okay. So if you have that scenario right now where you don't have somebody in your life to run some of this by, right? Like, would this work as an SOP? What is an SOP, right? Like if you've never worked in corporate America, maybe you don't know what an actual SOP would look like or what should entail. Reach out to the Keystone Network in general, Brittany or I individually, but we can walk through a basic version of it, but also maybe we can talk to you about who to hire to create some of these things for you to help solidify those processes and procedures for your business, especially if you're thinking about hiring somebody. If you're even contemplating, I want to hire somebody in the next 6 months to a year, you need to have those things solidified. And if you reach out to one of us, either we can help you or we can find the person that you can hire to do that if we're not the people you can hire.
Well, and I think that was our topic almost 2 weeks ago, right? Was if you don't have your house in order, when you bring other people in, there's no way for them to have clarity of what is expected. And so that's really what we're talking about is making sure that you know what's expected, you know what the target goal is. And that way, when you bring somebody in, now they know what's expected. They know what the target goal is. And maybe they have a different perspective and they can say, hey, if this is the target, I'm seeing that this is going this direction. Maybe if we did this, we could go this direction. So that also allows them the flexibility to give you their opinion, to help you grow outside. And that's why we have the Keystone Network, is because when you walk into our open lobby and you need a quick, hey, can somebody look at this real quick? Somebody's there and they're a business owner and they've done it, they've been there, or they're working on it, or there's a bunch of different scenarios there, but there's always somebody who you can just kind of say, hey, could you give me a second? And they'll give you that second, or they'll say, oh, I am not good at that. Talk to this person in the group, right? And so finding that, like you said, Sarah, that support of who's going to actually be on my side as a business owner and support my side as a business owner, but also have the knowledge. Yesterday, I dealt with something where not very many people have knowledge in that aspect, and it's good to love it. It's good to know where you're going and what you're doing. So yeah, I think it's good stuff, Sarah. I think we can call it a day. What do you think? Did we miss anything?
No, but I just never mind. Sometimes StreamYard attacks me. Anyways, there is the Keystone Network website. If you want to reach out to see if we can help you in the network, or if we can find the person that can, if any of these things are resonating with you, or if you just want to co-work, network, or collaborate with amazing people, that is that. But Also, our two businesses are there, so feel free to reach out to one or both of us if what we do resonates with you. And I should probably put my Substack in here somewhere, right? But anyways, no, I think that's it. I do have to say though, we're at 24 minutes, and I think we should just talk for a little bit. And the reason I say that is because last week, we only talked for 21 minutes.
Oh.
Okay. And we did that on purpose. I don't know why, because I had to get off or something. But one of our devoted followers, Dominic, said that we owed him 9 minutes if we keep doing it not 30-minute long. And I don't want to add on to this by having to owe him another 5 minutes. Okay. So someday we have to do 39-minute because apparently we owed him 9 minutes.
All right. So yesterday I had an incident happen, and sometimes in moments when things happen, when you're at work or when you're running your business, this kind of goes into the conversation we just had. Finding the right support for scenarios is very important. And Sarah has done a lot of work with some different nonprofits who support people in different scenarios. But also, we talk a lot about being a business person and having your family question why you're not working a 9 to 5, right? We talk a lot about when we make decisions for ourselves personally that other people may or may not agree with. If you look at cops and firemen, I am sure there's a lot of people who aren't happy with the fact that they put their lives at danger, right? And so when you're looking at what am I going to do today and who can support me and how I need to be today, really take the time to look things up. The Keystone Network is a place where we have found, business owners to support business owners, because that's just something that Sarah and I saw was not happening. And so we wanted to create that for people. And so no matter what your scenario is, if you are an artist, if you are, if you're an AI artist, you definitely need to find some people, because you need a lot of support, because there's a lot of hate in the world right now. But find people who can support you in your situations, and they're out there. They might not be, you might feel alone, is what I'm trying to say. You might feel alone in some different scenarios, but if you look and you do some research, you can find people who are there.
And I completely agree. So first and foremost, how this is proven in society for probably 80 years now is, if you look at it, there is an association for everything. Okay, somebody out there made what's called a 501c5 and a variety of other things, a nonprofit association for everything. And what that ended up being was pulling in together with, okay, if I don't fit into an association, or I don't have that money to join an association, right? People started figuring out their own groups. And this is where, if you're not sure where to go, I'm saying go to Keystone first, right? But honestly, do things like search for Facebook groups that do what you do, to talk to people that are in similar things. Even, going to meetups, right? If you go to meetup.com, there's a bunch of meetups out there. I mean, literally, if anything you want to do, there's probably a meetup. And for $5, you can start your own dang meetup. And you want to know what? There's probably 10 people just like you that are looking for somebody in that too, to have that happen. Last but not least, I'm going back to Substack, but it's not just about Substack. It's about, on Substack, you can find people that are writing about what you are going through, and just reading other people's scenarios of how they're going through the same thing can also kind of help with that feeling of loneliness, that I'm not the only person. So,
and also, like, for Substack, for you, Sarah, you struggled with blogging, and Substack is where you blog now. And if you guys are struggling with something, sometimes there's an alternative to what that is, that makes it a better, safer environment for you. And that's what that support looks like. That's what that research looks like.
And I think it's all about language. It's how you talk to yourself and how you involve yourself with people who talk to you, right? And so the reason, and then we'll end because we're almost at that 30-minute mark, but with Substack, blogging was such a problem because blogging in my head was this very stringent, purposeful, educated concept that had to be like perfect, right? Substack calls them articles, right? Substack is like, here, write an article on a topic you feel like today. And it's like, I could do that, right? And it's a word. It simply just made it a little less weight, right? And so find that place that takes away the weight. And I mean, like, weights, not, you still have to go to a doctor and wait. Sorry. I can't help that. But all right. It has been 30 minutes. That was a great end. And I hope, Dominic, you watched to the end. So I'm taking back my 26 seconds. So now we only owe you 8 minutes and 30 seconds.
No, we're at 30 and 40 seconds. Yeah.
Oh, see, we could just keep talking. No, I'm joking. All right, everybody.
Count the minutes.
All right. Just sit here and stare. No. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
1 2 1 2, need my attitude. 3 4 3 4, check my latitude.